Thank you so much for stopping in. This is the channeled transmission I have for you today. When the energy is fiery and it gets doused by water, the emotions and reactions can become extremely impulsive. Reasonability is stretched. The rubber band eventually snaps. It happens suddenly. The release point comes fast, in a way, unexpectedly by many of the peoples, because they were not attentive to the changes that are happening. As we have said many times through our transmissions, all establishment sectors have been and are crumbling. Through time, there is the feeling like you are spinning your wheels, trying to sort things out, trying to balance and understandings, trying to gain clarity. All of this leads you to crumbling down, and a chance to rebuild the way the people want. You are getting many opportunities to assess, rethink to the balance point, and out of the grips of the power elite, and gets humanity of all areas back on a track that eventually leads to sovereignty for all. It must be understood that your current time is extremely volatile in every aspect of the life, in personal, professional, relationships, occupational, governmental, medical. Recalculation takes time for humans to work through. It seems to take too much time, seems to go too slow, bringing frustrations from the feelings of being restrained. You are in a boiling pot. With clear determination, you figure out how to get out of the water, to float gently upon the surface and or find higher ground. Without the intense determination that you have gained from watching the events and activities work through the stages, you cannot tolerate the breadth and depth of what you deal with. Thus, you go round and eventually find clarity. Facing the breadth and depth of the conditions that exist in this transitory time is essential. Facing the truth is essential, and it requires your tolerance. A lot is being stirred up so that the earth realm humanity finally makes decisions. Decisions to end the corruptions, the frauds, the controls, the human abuses, the restrictions, and be satisfied with ending the old paradigm so that the slate is clean and ready and willing to start in a renewal of the era of harmony. This requires a complete change of mindset. This takes time, but you know what to expect and what is expected of you. What awaits is building harmony. What awaits is a visionary time of creation and hope, where you realize the seeds that you have set will begin to flourish and benefit you, your humanity group, and your earth realm. There is difficulties in the transition, just as in most times of change, but it, with your tolerance and acceptance of our message of changes to expect, it, change, transition, will have less fiery response and more related views of the future. You already know good versus evil. You already know sovereignty versus control. Hold that which you already know as events rerun their course in order for humanity as a collective to gain awareness of events that are continuing to be revealed. This is a stage in the changes, sometimes events that the collective of humanity must recognize need to repeat. It is uncomfortable at times, and the band is close to being stretched to its limits. Through these efforts, the status quo is no longer accepted. This is a stage in the changes. That's where it ends. So they are giving us a heads up about what to expect again. They're telling us routinely now what to expect in the near future. And that's kind of why a couple of weeks ago, I don't know when it was, I said, these energy reports need to be extended out. I think it's been a while. These energy reports need to be extended out because we are being given layer on layer in a cascading way, the way they started this newer group of information. The sorry, I can't think of the words. The crumbling then leads to layers and cascading and the different things that they've been telling us, and that takes time. That takes time. It's layer on layer on layer because humanity cannot tolerate it all at one time. I think we could, but in my estimation, I think we could take it all in one lump sum, but some people can't. That's why the collective, they're talking about the humanity collective needs to see it. And until they see it and, get to the willingness of actually seeing it, first of all, secondly, to understand it, which, most of us don't necessarily understand it, but they give it to us in bits and pieces and sometimes in clumps. And it is something that we have to accept and just keep in our whole big picture. They did say, I'm seeing right here, it says, facing the breadth and depth of the conditions that exist. It's not simple. It's big and deep. And when you're dealing with something big and deep, you can't just, in any part of life, you have to chip away at it. In some cases, you have to chip away at it. Sometimes, like I said before, you can dig out chunks. But when you're dealing with something with breadth and depth, you have to handle it in most of the time small chunks in order to deal with it appropriately. And that's what they're telling us again or now. And they're saying it's essential. Facing the truth is essential, and it requires our tolerance. So we have to be tolerant, even though we think we know, we think we know, or we know, or we don't know. We have to be tolerant in letting it process out, letting the layers go on, letting the cascading move to the final outcome, which I think is we're learning so that we are strong and tolerant and understanding of letting the status quo go. They said it's all leading to the status quo, letting go of the status quo, or understanding that the status quo is no longer acceptable. And, maybe that's what we're doing right now. Well, okay, this is what we're doing, is we're learning that we don't want the status quo. We've had it. We understand. We're not stupid. We're not making stuff up. We know what the status quo has given us, and now we don't want the status quo. We may not know how to it's the status quo, but we know we don't like the status quo. But we have to know, you and me, we each have to know that our freedom, our sovereignty as humans and as countries and as individuals upon the earth realm, our freedoms and our sovereignty must be preserved. That is what we have to know. And maybe in this case, maybe that is what we're learning also. We don't like the status quo, but we also have to know securely, firmly, undeniably that we want our individual freedom and we want our individual sovereignty. We want the sovereignty of humanity, and we want the sovereignty of individual countries and the waters and the lands and everything that goes with it. That's it. I don't have anything else coming. So thank you again. Thank you so much for being here. Please like and share my videos, and check out my Patreon channel. And please stay tuned, because there is a lot more to come.